The buzz surrounding the upcoming movie The Woman King, which focuses on the Dahomey Amazons, reveals that there is still an appetite for movies focused on real historical events. Though some particular moments in history, such as World War II, have been amply represented on the big screen, there are a number of other periods, events, and people who have been largely neglected, despite their importance in the scale of human history. Fortunately, the canny users at Reddit have noted a number of historical events that haven't been made into a movie yet, but definitely should be. The 1904 Olympic Marathon. There have been many great sports movies over the years, but none yet have covered the bizarre series of events that was the 1904 Olympics. The marathon, in particular, was full of shenanigans, including a man who was almost crowned the winner, despite the fact that he cheated. Thus, it's not surprising that some have said that it would make a fine absurdist comedy. Hit It With a Rock, for example, writes, "I need a Coen Brothers movie of the 1904 Olympic Marathon." It's easy to see how the Coen Brothers, with their unique sense of humor, could make this movie their own. The Pan Am flight that got caught in New Zealand during World War II. World War II is a particularly rich period for movies, and a number of great war movies have been set during it. However, one notable incident is the Pan Am flight, which was forced to stay put in New Zealand, given the danger of flying in European airspace, and that subsequently set out on its own path. As BIGRED 49342 remarks, the whole thing took months, culminating in taking off from a river in the Congo and having to skim along through a canyon to build up speed, since they were too heavy in order to even have a chance of crossing the Atlantic. It is, indeed, exactly the type of story that would make for a rousing and inspiring war movie. Hannibal crossing the Alps. Few historical figures loom quite as large as Hannibal, the Carthaginian general who dared to attack the Romans on their own territory. His crossing of the Alps with elephants is a truly iconic image, so it's not surprising that the users of Reddit would identify this as a key event that needs the big movie treatment. Matty writes, "A biopic on Hannibal would be really good. The visuals of crossing the Alps with elephants would be stunning." If such a project would ever be made, it would almost certainly come to be regarded as one of the best epic movies. The Life of the Lioness of Brittany. Though many great movies have been set in the Middle Ages, none yet have taken as their subject the woman known as the Lioness of Brittany, Jeanne de Clisson. Lizzleton notes how she was a medieval woman who led brutal attacks by land and sea against a French king in vengeance for the execution of her husband. A movie focused on her life could certainly do a great deal of money at the box office, particularly if it painted her as the type of epic anti-hero that audiences have grown to love. The history of Hawaii. American history in its various forms has been a perpetual fascination for Hollywood, but remarkably little attention has been paid to Hawaii. This should be remedied, as Shaka Zulu says, the history of how the ancient Hawaiian Islands were united under one man to form the Hawaiian Kingdom is epic. Such a movie would not only be epic filmmaking at its best, but it would also introduce many mainland Americans to a history that many of them are probably not at all familiar with. The story of Qing Shi. Given the increasing prominence of China on the world stage, it makes sense that the fascinating history of this country would come to be seen as a rich source of cinematic material. The life of Qing Shi, also known as Zheng Yi Sao, is a particularly fascinating one. RANDOMGUY 987,654,321 points out. At the height of her power, she commanded over 800 large ships, 1,000 smaller vessels, and over 70,000 pirate crew, comprised of both men and women. She is just the type of historical figure whose life would make for a fascinating and rousing epic movie. The Haitian Revolution. Few events have been quite as tumultuous as the Haitian Revolution, which demonstrated the extent to which people would go to break the chains of slavery. Filled with blood, tragedy, and triumph, it is a historical event that seems to have been made for the big screen. Siasia notes. And it's tied directly to the various revolutionary and counter-revolutionary politics in France. Some of it wild. It's the type of historical event that is intimately tied to geopolitics, which would make for a great screenplay. Xenophon and the 10,000 The Ancient World has provided inspiration for generations of filmmakers, and there have been numerous great movies set in antiquity. Thus, it makes sense that someone would propose a movie based on the life and adventures of Xenophon, a general and, later, writer who led his band of mercenaries into the heart of Persia. As Brody Tuck remarks, he was a student of Socrates that was commander of a Greek mercenary company under Cyrus that nearly captured Babylon, then had to retreat to Greece. Philosopher, historian, and military commander. His extraordinary life and the events of which he was a part make him a prime subject for an epic movie. The Norman invasion of England. The Norman invasion is one of the most important events in the history of the UK. After all, it installed a new monarchy, as well as a different system of government from that which had been practiced by the Anglo-Saxons. It was, moreover, a part of a great inter-family drama that had been played out for several years previously. Given the larger-than-life personalities involved, as well as the innate drama involved in a story like this, it's no wonder that further Slimikiang states, if done well this would be amazing. The rise of Cyrus the Great. Few rulers of the ancient world were quite as impressive as Cyrus the Great, whose life was marked by momentous happenings. Nowrries 124 writes eloquently, he founded the First Persian Empire, freed the Jews from Babylon, abolished slavery, let the peoples of his empire keep their cultures and religions, and is the only Messiah in the Bible to not be of an Abrahamic religion. Even if a movie about his life were to cover only part of what he accomplished, it would still make for a grand, sweeping epic, the type of story that Hollywood excels at telling.